Your superpower is that you can conjure anything in your palm provided it only costs $1 or less. You have been relentlessly mocked for having such a useless power until you realize just how useful it can be. I was a child when I first realized my power. My mother had taken me to the supermarket with her. Like any other 7-year-old, I spent most of my time nagging and asking for sweets. Their bright colorful wrappers enticed me, with their cartoon characters and funny names. I wanted sweets. I would have sweets. My mother of course had a different opinion, and as I'm sure you can imagine, the tantrum that ensued was embarrassing. I found myself afterwards, in the back seat of the family car with anger radiating from the driver's seat. Despite this, my only focus was the candy bar I had most wanted. I saw it in my mind's eye. Purple wrapper. Chocolate and hazelnut. I imagined what it would be like to hold it, taste it. Imagine my surprise when I closed my gluttonous child fists and felt it right there in the palm of my hands. From then on it was my little secret. Every day I would conjure myself a snack, hiding it from my parents. Then one day I realized it would no longer work. I was distraught, obviously. On our next shopping trip I glumly walked over to the candy bars and found my favorite. Over the top of the previous price label sat a new one. $1.50, the sign read. Mother led me away and I was left to ponder why my gift had abandoned me. That process took many years, but eventually I honed in on it. $1, and not a cent more. If the thing cost less than $1, at retail prices, I could produce it in my hand. Wholesale prices were no good, and it had to be United States dollars. In states where sales tax isn't included, that must also be accounted for. Trust me, I know what you're thinking. Divine magics don't abide by the arbitrary US financial system. I thought that too. I concluded that my abilities must be linked, somehow, to the US government, and so I went in search of someone who could explain what was going on. Most people laughed at me at first, until I proved myself. Then they would make a phone call, and a supervisor would come to verify. Then their supervisor. Then the next. Tiring, as you can well understand. I worked my way up through each level of bureaucracy and administration. In the end, all for naught. The CIA had no idea. The FBI had no idea. NSA, no idea. Well, that's not true, they all had one idea. The meeting took place in a secure location. The room was a simple table, with comfortable but Spartan chairs surrounding. The chair of the Federal Reserve sat casually at one end of the desk, the Secretary of the Department of Treasury at the other. Various intelligence agencies were represented, and they sat silently around the table, reading notes or staring at me. Finally, the president entered. His entourage escorted him in. Suits and serious faces. One of the men carried a briefcase, which he deposited on the table, in front of the president's chair. Then, the suits disappeared, closing the room's door behind them. Awkwardly, we sat in complete silence. Then the president spoke. "Good morning, gentlemen." The president started, "Have we all reviewed the plan?" The chair of the Federal Reserve nodded. "Sir, I think we should reconsider. There are significant impacts and consequences to consider. The deflationary pressure itself is only." Noted. The president interrupted. "Perhaps a demonstration would assuage some fears. Son, can I have you help me out?" I started, realizing I was being spoken to. "Of course, sir." The president unclasped the